Hey, what's up? Rob Brinded here. I'm going to be talking about how to remove anything that's limiting you from your career. And that career will be anything from being a professional sports person to you name it. Whatever you want to succeed in, we're going to be looking at how to remove the things that are going to stop you from getting there. As a pre-warning, this video is not for you if you're already extremely driven, completely confident in your ability, and you're consistent every single day without fail, and you know you're going to succeed. This video isn't for you. That person I'm talking about is a right side, extreme right side of the hamster wheel. If you're new to this video, I'm talking about the mind and the behavior that it takes to become a success. So extreme right, it's already sort of encoded into their behavior that they're going to at all costs succeed. That is great for succeeding, but you won't get any satisfaction, and you will have hard spins to the other side where you'll fail and lose massively. So it always comes with a trade-off, right? Whichever side of the hamster wheel. This video is going to be for you if you really want a particular career. And I'm going to be talking a lot about a client I worked with yesterday who wants to be a professional footballer. Not ironically, but coincidentally, where there are no coincidences. Recently, I worked with another young athlete who's around possibly 15, and he's on the right of the hamster wheel and completely driven. And all I have to do is work slightly differently with him for him to be a professional, to become a professional. Now, I can't control them becoming a professional. All I can do is take away anything, or help them take away anything that's going to stop them from becoming that. So it's extremely effective. Yesterday, I worked with a young man who's 14. Awesome session, but he's on the left of the hamster wheel. So I'm going to show you, if you're a lefty where you lack confidence, you don't 100% believe in yourself, this video is for you. Who else would find this useful? If you're a parent and you have a child who wants to succeed in something, you need to understand their hamster wheels. Now, if you're a parent and you understand their hamster wheels, you're going to have to understand your own hamster wheels first. So if you want your kids to succeed, it's an internal game, parent. Okay. The way my brain works is this just comes out of me. I don't prepare my videos. That's not how my brain works. It just comes out as it is. So, if you're a very linear thinker and you like step by step, you're going to have to sort of reduce this video down. But I'm looking at multiple things at once, non-linear thinker. And that's why I'm good at this stuff, is because I can see patterns. So, that out of the way, I had a client come to me, and he's a young man. It's not normal that I have too many teenagers, but I enjoy working with them. What's interesting is that if I work with, say, a 14-year-old young lady, they usually are much more, not mature, but they understand what they want more. They understand their problems more, and they can express them. So this young man came on, and I said, okay, what do you want to work on? He goes, I don't know, which is a classic, young teenager boy type answer. And so I knew he wanted to be a professional footballer, and he wasn't giving me anything. So what I did was I kind of just sat with it for a moment. It wasn't a long moment, but I'm like, okay, where am I going with this session if he doesn't know what he wants to work on? So I asked him, I said, oh, you want to be a professional footballer? Yes. Okay, is there anything that's bothering you there? And he said, yeah, I've got some people in the team who don't take things seriously. They're not reliable, and they're not focused. So what I'm hearing is this young man, he's pointing at someone in his team that they are a certain way, and it bothers him. So that's my in. That's already showing that he's brought something up from his deep operating system that's been triggered. Those people in his reality, there's always three fingers pointing back. I start to dig into that. I'm like, oh, okay, consistent, not reliable, they're not focused, and they're stopping him from becoming a professional footballer. fast. So I'm there. I've got the meat of where we're going with this session. And so I ask him, okay, how often do you train? And he says, well, once a week I have training, and sometimes I train a little bit in the garden, but I have my schoolwork. Okay, so I'm just listening to his facts and then going with the facts. So I go harsh, and you're working with, when you're working with truths, you just got to point them out. So I said, okay, to be a professional footballer, I know, because I worked in professional football and with young guys in football, they train, like the young guys are training, 6 to 8 hours a day. They're always playing, or minimum after school, they're playing 2-3 hours. Okay. So I said to him, to be a professional footballer, you need to be training two hours a day, minimum. Otherwise you will never get confident enough with the ball. And I could see his face look a little bit shocked. So what I was doing there, I was just trying to trigger his mind into like a defense, or trigger it slightly. And what he said was, oh, wow, I feel kind of like disappointment. And that disappointment word I wrote here. This is the hamster wheel. This is the left side. So then I realized he's talking about these people in his team that are not supporting him in becoming a professional footballer. He can't support himself with these people to blame. And in me saying, actually, you're not supporting yourself because you're not training, he said the word, which is let down, disappointment. So it brought up and made clear to me, and then after I explained it to him, the hamster wheel of support letdown. Remember, there are 5 hamster wheels that run your deep operating system, that control you, and they will be the difference between you becoming successful or failing. Inevitable. So I start building on that hamster wheel that he's shown me that is running. So I explained to him that a right-sided hamster wheel dweller, or a right wheeler, I'm coming up with different names, maybe a hare and a hedgehog, or a drifter, or I can't remember the opposite of drifter. It was it's a doer. Now a doer on the right side, they're the type that don't need motivation. They're extremely driven. They are the ones who become professional footballers. That's clear. Why? Because they can support themselves. I watched a documentary about Eddie Murphy last night. He's a massive right-sider. He loves himself. He's self-driven. He knows what he wants. That's the type of person that becomes world-class. Yeah? So I'm saying to him, I'm like pointing out, like a bit brutal. I said, the right-sider who becomes a professional footballer is naturally supporting themselves. And I said, you're not supporting yourself. I bet you just support others. You're a team player and you think about others. That is the left-sided operating system behavior. He said, yeah, I'm. And I said, I bet you're kind and you think about others. Yes. Right-siders are selfish. So do you see that he's on the left, more in disappointment, letdown, where that's safe for him? We're talking about a deep operating system. And for a righty, that is dangerous. What's crazy, I'm like, whoever you are, you've got to understand that these are underneath they were coded in in your childhood. And so for this footballer, being safe is like failure. But for a righty, being valuable and special and achieving is safe. And the other side is dangerous. And so this is why people say mindset's everything. You in special forces, they look to break you through a hamster wheel. It's like, how much can you support yourself? They want only the extreme people who are so certain and they support themselves so fully that they can't break them, and they don't quit and fail. But they break everyone doing that. Interestingly enough, most special forces soldiers are taken, or they used to be, maybe even now, from children's homes. So they experienced a lot of disconnect and trauma. And so the more trauma you experience, the more resilient you become, but it always comes with a negative. So that's why Special Forces guys are right up on the right-hand side. Yeah? Makes sense. So what I had to do was start looking at the language that gets triggered in this young guy, and for him to be able to see that he has a behavior, a habitual script program that keeps running in him that stops him from being able to achieve. And he wants to badly. So I asked him, I'm like, something slipped out of his mouth. He said, not enough people believing in me. So I said, oh, you need people to believe in you. And that gives him trust and certainty. But you can't become a professional athlete or professional high level singer, actor, if you don't believe in yourself. Do you see? So this side, left-sider, and then you probably, if you're still watching, you're a left-sider. You don't believe in yourself fully. Right-siders do. Okay, so how do we get someone to believe in themselves? Well, if you look all the self-help gurus, they'll say, pretend until you've made it, or think positive thoughts. No, you cannot change a system from within the system that created it. That all self-help is bullshit. It doesn't work. Positive thinking is only good for right-siders. Yeah, that's the right-siders are the self-help gurus. Anthony Robbins is completely right-sided. Yeah, and so they market to left-siders saying, look, we can make you confident. No, you cannot change the system from within the system that created it. So what I did with him was we had to say, how did this system get created? So we went to the little guy that created it, that created the coding, which came from that disconnect in childhood that everyone has. That disconnect is experienced by a child as an abandonment. It's very black or white. And so when you abandon something, you throw it away. It has no value. Yeah. So the opposite of value is worthless. So it's very simple, 1 and 0. You experience this sort of worthless. And so because you don't get your love, connection, belonging, so they're not getting their needs met. And so the next best thing is to be valuable. And everyone creates this same program, but you're either on the right or the left. This is what drives human behavior, is to be special, achieve, be valuable, seen as valuable. And that is the mind. The mind's program works like that. It's super basic. Now, how do we change, how's this guy he wants to be valuable, but he's on the left. So deep down, he feels worthless. So he will always self-sabotage. Whenever he gets to a certain amount of valuableness, he'll slide back. The hamster wheel is always rotating the other way. So for a lefty, the more he tries to get up here, support himself, which is dangerous, his coding says, okay, and he gets to a certain level, and then he rolls back to feeling a letdown. Okay, the righty does everything possible to constantly be valuable, and then experiences massive swings back the other way. So like David Beckham in his documentary, when he was the biggest star in the world, and then he got sent off in the World Cup, and he was the most hated person in the world. So, you see this framework of understanding reality is that there are these rules, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. It's obvious. It's super simple. So this guy, how does he change that? Well, I could say, oh, you got to focus on, just train more and be more positive and be ruthless and, think more of yourself. It's not going to work. Now, you might not believe me. Don't trust me. Verify. Go and do it yourself. I spent 30 years working with this for myself. It never worked. I've seen this with thousands of clients, elite clients, gold medal athletes, elites in their field. And it's this. This is the reason why. It's the underlying operating system that runs all humans. So I told him, you can't change system from within the system. And in fact, I got him to think about it. I said, how are you going to change this? He goes, maybe I should believe in myself more. Yeah, but how do you do that? He goes, so what he just said to me was he used the the same hamster wheel. He said, I need to support myself more. I said, how long is that going to work for? That's what you've always been doing. It's the hamster wheel that is glitchy. You can't change the system from within the system that created it. So he's like, shit, I don't know how to. So then we went into the only way to change you, the only way to change behavior, the only way to become successful is to undo, is to remove the faulty programming that's a glass ceiling. So what I said to him, he now needs to watch when a thought comes up where he doesn't believe in himself, when he gets angry, when other people are not focused. They're just his teachers. They're showing him where his coding is weak. I said to him, think about training 2 hours a day. You need to train 2 hours a day. What comes up? I said, I bet you the thought is, I'm not going to do it. And he looked shocked, but it's obvious. It's the hamster wheel. So I said, you just had the thought, you thought, am I going to support myself for 2 hours a day? And you went, bang, no, let down, felt disappointed instantly. And then, boo. So I said, you need to look at, like I said, fact, you need to do 2 hours a day. Or let's say start with 1 hour. And the compounding effect in 5-10 years will be no one will be able to catch you, or only the people that put in the work. He's 14. It's going to be difficult for him to change his behavior, but it's difficult for everyone. Someone like Ronaldo, traumatized childhood, extremely driven, he doesn't have that problem. He doesn't need to teach himself consistency of work ethic. But the lefties do. Consistency, they hate. Lefty, if you're a lefty, you don't like consistency. That's why you will self-sabotage. Because with consistency, you will succeed. So it's a coding issue. It's nothing to do with you being lazy. Okay, so he needs to, so I said 2 hours a day. And I said, whenever you think about that 100%, if you want to be a professional footballer, you have to take responsibility and see your behavior. You're not consistent. No excuses. You'll get, in 5 years' time, you have a choice. Or two choices. You either do this work, change your behavior by observing it, and you will do the work and become, if you do 2 hours a day and you've done this hard work to open yourself up to the right, you will be completely neutral on the pitch. You will be very confident in yourself, and you will, at some level, play professional football. I think, because he's quite a unit of a kid, and he's got good skills. Or you go back to sleep and you pretend and you fantasize. If you've worked with me, you'll know that people on the left fantasize a lot about things going well, but that's fantasy. In reality, they don't do it. So you've got this massive conflict and self-anger and frustration and, guilt that comes. So I said to him, I bet you fantasize about being a footballer. He smiles. It's like, yeah. So that is part of the hamster wheel. You have to understand the behavior of both sides. Fantasizing about being the best, and then looking at the reality, you're not putting in the work. That's where we go for high performance, is looking at this type of thing. So this will be really useful if you're on the left. If you're on the right and you're still watching this, that's awesome, because you're going to understand that you have glitchy software too, and it's toxic and it's going to cause you problems. I've seen, there's guys on the internet who are talking about, oh yeah, your mind is a code and, coding in the matrix, but it's just for making a nice video. They don't know how to work with it. This is how you work with the matrix. This is how you change yourself, and there's no other way. How can I say that? It's because that mind is a centralized system. There's a framework that everyone has. I've seen it. Don't trust me. Verify it for yourself. If you're a Bitcoiner, you know what I'm talking about. You have to verify yourself. Take responsibility for your keys, verify. So here you need to take responsibility and see if this is true. And you will see that you can try and use positive thinking or some of that. It'll never change you. It's part of the system. Okay. So if you have any questions about that, if you want me to talk about anything in a video, I will do that. Pop a comment underneath. If you share this video with others, if you think that it will be useful, I'd really appreciate that. Like it, it really helps me get my like and subscribe. It really helps me to get the message out. And come on, let's get this message out. There's an operating system that everyone can access, and it's going to resolve your suffering, and it creates a reality that you want. All you have to do is do the hard work, and most people just want to stay asleep and not do it. So come on, let's wake up and let's go.